So we saw how the Force itself was discovered, how the Rakata enslaved the galaxy, and how the Sith species rose under kings like Ada's. But now the real story of the Sith begins. Because about 7,000 years before the movies, the Jedi turned on each other. One group said, we should only use the light side. Another group said, nah, the dark side is way more powerful. And what started as a philosophical debate exploded into a full-blown civil war called the 100-Year Darkness. And the losers of that war? They became the very first Dark Lords of the Sith, the Jedi Civil War, 100-Year Darkness. The Jedi Order had been around for a long time by this point. They were guardians of peace, followers of the light side. But as the Order grew, cracks started forming. Some Jedi felt restricted. They saw the light side as a leash, holding them back from unlocking the true potential of the Force. They wanted freedom. They wanted power. This clash of beliefs turned violent. Jedi fought Jedi in one of the longest civil wars in galactic history, the 100-Year Darkness. Imagine a century of lightsabers clashing, armies marching, entire worlds pulled into the chaos. And what made the dark side faction truly terrifying was their experimentation. These dark Jedi weren't content with just dueling. They turned to forbidden sciences. They created monsters with Sith alchemy, twisted abominations like the Tarantatek, beasts bred specifically to hunt Jedi. Think about that. These fallen Jedi weren't just fighting their old brothers and sisters. They were making custom-built Jedi killing monsters to unleash on the battlefield. And for a while, it actually looked like they might win. The exile of the Dark Jedi. But the Jedi Council rallied. The Loyalists eventually crushed the dark side faction. The Dark Jedi were defeated, chained, and exiled. They were sent away, cast out of the Republic, forced to wander deep into the unknown regions. The Jedi thought that was the end of them, that these heretics would just fade into obscurity. They couldn't have been more wrong. Because Exile didn't destroy the Dark Jedi. It gave them a new home and a new people to rule. Discovery of the Sith species on Korriban. The Exiles eventually stumbled onto a remote desert world, Korriban. And here they made first contact with the Sith species. The red-skinned warriors who had been living in darkness for millennia under kings like Addas and Dathka Grouch. These Sith were already steeped in the dark side, but they weren't as advanced in technology as the exiled Jedi. When the Sith saw these powerful Force wielders, they didn't resist. They worshipped them. To the Sith species, these exiled Jedi were gods, and the Dark Jedi were more than happy to play the role. Ajunta Pall, the first Dark Lord. Leading the Exiles was Ajunta Pall. Once a Jedi Master, now the first to fully embrace the dark side, Pall declared himself the first Dark Lord of the Sith. Under his rule, the Exiles and the native Sith species merged. The Sith became more than just a people. They became an order, an empire, a philosophy. Ajunta Pall's tomb still exists on Korriban, filled with his cursed blade. Legends say his spirit lingers, forever regretting the path he chose. But there's no denying it. Ajunta Pall was the spark that lit the fire of the Sith, the founders of Sith alchemy. But Ajunta Pall wasn't alone. Some of his fellow exiles became legendary in their own right. 3 names stand out: Karness Muur, Sorzus Syn, and XoXaan. Karness Muur. He created the infamous Muur talisman, an artifact that could infect others and twist them into Rakuls, mindless monsters under his control. Imagine wearing a necklace that lets you turn entire cities into zombie armies. That's Karness Muur's legacy. Sorzus Syn. She was the chronicler, the sorceress who wrote down the rituals of the Sith. She's the reason Sith alchemy survived for generations, because she literally wrote the book of their dark magic. XoXaan, known as the Witch, she was a master of dark sorcery and deception. Her teachings became the backbone of Sith manipulation and Force illusions. These three, alongside Ajunta Pall, codified what it meant to be Sith. They weren't just warriors, they were scientists of the dark side. They created weapons, curses, monsters, and rituals that would haunt the galaxy for thousands of years. The fusion of Jedi and Sith. The merger between the exiled Jedi and the native Sith species created something brand new. The Sith were no longer just a people, and the Dark Jedi were no longer just fallen Jedi. Together they forged the Sith Order, an empire ruled by Dark Lords, where power was everything and betrayal was expected. They built temples on Korriban, crafted Sith holocrons to store forbidden knowledge, and expanded across nearby worlds like Ziost. The Sith believed in domination through fear, strength, and sorcery. And thanks to their mix of Force powers and the Sith species' brutality, they were unstoppable. Why this changed everything. This moment, the 100-year darkness and the exile to Korriban, is the real birth of the Sith we know. Before this, the Sith were just a species, and the dark side was just a temptation. But after this fusion, Sith became an idea. Anyone, of any species, could be Sith, as long as they embraced the dark side and craved power. And this wasn't just a philosophical shift. It was a cultural explosion. The Sith species gave their loyalty and their bloodlines. The Exiles gave their knowledge and their hunger. Together, they created an empire so strong it would terrify the Republic for millennia. The stage for the next war. So here's where we're at. The Jedi think they've won. They've banished the Dark Jedi, closed the book on the 100-year darkness, and gone back to their temples thinking the galaxy is safe. But out in the shadows, the Sith are rising. They're building an empire of sorcery, slavery, and endless ambition. And under Ajunta Pall and his followers, they're about to expand beyond Korriban. And in the next chapter, the Sith do exactly that. They unleash their first true empire under Dark Lords like Marka Ragnos, Nagasato, and Ludo Kresh. They'll even start a war so massive it drags the entire Republic into the fight. That's the Great Hyperspace War, and it's where the Sith go from exiles to galactic conquerors.